and call this meeting to order. First, what I would like to do is I'd like to do our roll call, and what's going to happen is Denise is going to call out your name, and then I'd like you to introduce yourself, and then we will go around that way. And of course, I'll start. And just so you guys know, starting next month, there's going to be sort of a new system. We're going to have to announce ourselves, and we're going to have to announce our, hey, Larry, can all commissioners mute, by the way, if they're not talking? So what I wanted to say really quickly, though, is starting next month, what's going to happen is individuals, once we go around to do roll call, we are going to be required, okay, to say our location, so where we're located in the U.S., and then, of course, our city when attending meetings virtually. So that is going to be something that we're going to need to do going forward. However, that does not take effect until the end of the month. So don't worry necessarily about doing that for this particular roll call. But I'll start it off. So my name is Zach Damon. I'm the chairman of the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues.
Okay. Commissioner Gossage.
Alex Gossage, Commissioner, here at my house in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner Pipkin.
Hi there, I'm Christiana Allen Pipkin, Commissioner.
Commissioner Poster. You muted.
Yeah, I did that for him, and now.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Debbie Poster, Commissioner, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner Mosaic.
Commissioner Kathleen Mozak.
Okay, Commissioner Keeler.
Commissioner Larry Keeler from my recliner at home in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Solomon.
Commissioner Matthew Solomon, present.
Commissioner Hawkins. Commissioner Hall.
Tim Hall, Commissioner.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Wonderful. Can we have a new commissioner with us, folks? So I would like to introduce Ms. Kinsey Button. And Kinsey, thank you so much for joining us. We are so proud, humbled, and honored to have you on the Commission for Disability Issues. If you could give us a brief introduction about your amazing experience and also your passion for joining the commission.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys for having me. My name's Kinsey Button. Like Zach said, I'm new to this commission, just joined, and I'm actually new to Ann Arbor and Michigan in general. I'm from Texas. I just moved to Ann Arbor this past July. My background is in public relations. I'm currently applying for law school, so hoping to attend either University of Michigan or Wayne State University, but that's a lot of where my interest lies. Would like to focus on civil rights law specifically, and I think disability issues kind of fall into that category as well. So I just really enjoy helping people, and I'm excited to be a part of the community. So thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Kinsey. It's a pleasure and an honor, and welcome to Michigan from down south. Unfortunately, we don't have breakfast tacos here, but a lot of good other cuisine in Michigan as well. So wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving forward on the agenda, we have the approval of the meeting minutes from our February meeting. And of course, those were sent out electronically. And there's also a link in the agenda to be able to view those. But if you have not gotten a copy of the February meeting minutes, please let us know and we can get you a copy at this time. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to review those. And if there are any corrections to those meeting minutes, I'd like to for those corrections to be brought up at this time. Okay, are there any corrections to the minutes? No?
Commissioner Mozak has her hand up.
Oh, okay, Commissioner Betts.
I just wanted to correct the minutes under the report on G. The meeting actually was a Zoom meeting. It did not take place at the University of Michigan,
Oh, okay.
the Disability Day of Mourning. So that's my only correction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, are there any corrections to the meeting minutes for February? Any other, pardon me?
Discussion of this meeting minutes actually is reminding me that I didn't participate in the roll call of this meeting. So I want to make sure that I'm in the minutes, having attended for this meeting.
Yes,
Yes, Councilwoman Nelson.
Councilwoman Nelson, most definitely. Thank you.
Yes, you are present. Thank you very much. All right. Any other corrections or comments about the minutes? All right. Next item, we're going to go to our special presentation portion of the meeting. And I'm very excited and very humbled to introduce Jeffrey Nolish of Detroit Disability Power. They're doing tremendous work with the campaign that we've partnered with to make sure that people with disabilities in Detroit and across the state have immediate access to COVID-19 vaccines to make sure that we all, as individuals, stay healthy. So I would like to present Jeffrey Nolish with Detroit Disability Power.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Nolish. I'm the Policy Director for Detroit Disability Power. We are a disability justice organization based in Detroit, Michigan, and we are dedicated to building the political power of and with people with disabilities in Detroit, as well as the Metro Detroit area, including Wayne, Washtenaw, Oakland, and Macomb counties. I saw some hands go up. Should I pause for a second while people wanted to say some stuff?
Thank you, Jeff, but we're actually going to save questions until after your comments, okay? So
Sure.
Once Jeffrey is done, folks, then we'll open it up for some brief questions.
Sure, thank you. A few things I should say off the bat. One, my pronouns are he, him, his. Two, I identify as Latinx or Latina, queer, Jewish, and I'm an international adoptee from Bogota, Colombia, who grew up in the suburbs of Detroit. I also have been spending the last hour writing something for our organization in love and respect and in acknowledgement of what happened in Atlanta today. So just as a sense of where I'm at, you know, Detroit Disability Power is an organization about 5-6 people, pretty small, some interns. But this last year we tried to raise our voices and make a difference. And we were not alone. We try and work with everyone, everywhere to make a difference. And we certainly have made one in the state of Michigan this last year, and we need to continue to make differences going forward. So I'll be brief in presenting, and I'll give you a quick background on what we accomplished this year and what we'd like to see going forward and what we'd like you to give attention to if possible. A year ago, the World Health Organization issued guidance that said people with disabilities were at a greater risk than non-disabled people in terms of contracting the coronavirus due to a number of factors, things like the inability to social distance, things like underlying health conditions, things like lack of access to adequate health care information or care. And we saw this in our lives, and Johns Hopkins University will be putting out a report in the coming weeks that details the view that people with disabilities were not factored into the COVID-19 response throughout the country. And we know that last September, October, November, we started to see the results of that in terms of data. You know, So you've probably seen the talking points. You've probably used them yourselves, but we saw that people with Down syndrome were 10 times more likely to die. People with intellectual and developmental disabilities were 3 times more likely to die. People with autism were at a greater likelihood of dying, and people with schizophrenia were almost 3 times more likely to die if they all contracted the coronavirus. The mortality rates are there, the risk is there, and we were able to use that information to make cases and arguments and wade into the media and try and push our decision makers to better prioritize people with disabilities who we saw as being undervalued from the start. And so we heard many arguments, I'm sure you did as well, that the supply or the demand exceeded the supply, or that the CDC said this and that, or that it's not our decision at the county level, it's MDHHS, the state decision, or it's the federal decision, or it's someone else's decision, but it's not ours. And so we spent a lot of time forming counter arguments. We certainly don't seek to demonize anyone. We didn't seek to, blow up our own popularity or ego. We wanted to deliver, and we ended up delivering in those arguments in Detroit. And on February 11th, the city of Detroit said if you're 18 years and older, you have access now to the coronavirus vaccine if you live with intellectual or developmental disabilities. And, we know friends, family, and some of our colleagues live in Oakland, Washtenaw, and Macomb counties. And so we didn't want to stop with a win in Detroit. We carried this into a 4-county, quad county area. And up until last week, we have been joining alongside Zach numerous public comments in these 4 counties multiple times a day, whether it was meeting with full-on boards of commissioners or a health committee or a human rights committee. We did our best to organize. Every morning I would wake up to Dessa, my boss's 20 emails she scheduled sent the next morning. And every night and every morning I'd wake up and I'd review the news. I would put in disability and vaccine and look at everything across the country and across the globe, because that's how big this fight is right now. And it's still going on. And so we were thankful that we got equitable policy from the state level for 50-year-olds with disability and chronic conditions a week and a half or so ago. And we were thankful that last Friday, the state said, you know what, we will prioritize people 16 years and older with disabilities, chronic medical conditions, and caregivers. And then after that news came out on Friday, Macomb County called on Saturday, and they said, you know what, we want to be the first county in Michigan to do this. We heard you loud and clear. Or we should have done this before, basically. So right now, if you live in Detroit or if you live in Macomb County and you are 18 years or older and you have intellectual or developmental disabilities or caregivers, you can get shots. If you live in Macomb County, the access is even greater than in Detroit. And starting next Monday, you will have access, ideally, to accessible vaccine sites and accessible processes that facilitate 16 years and old people with disabilities, caregivers, and chronic illness and disease vaccine access to these shots. So it's been, as you can imagine, I'm sure you all felt similarly, very emotionally taxing. There were many barriers in making this real. There still are barriers, which is the pivot to what can we do? What can we do right now? It's funny, my boss, Dessa, is on her way to get her second shot in Detroit right now as I talk to you. She just texted me. So, this isn't done yet, right? In some counties, there's still very much long lines. In some counties, there's a feeling that they don't have the shots yet. In some counties, they feel like they are a step behind, that they are frustrated with the state. And so what we're trying to do right now is to talk with our health directors in each of the counties that we mentioned, as well as work with the Protect Michigan Commission for People with Disabilities or Disability Work Group to make sure that we are looking at access as holistically as possible. So I used to work in transportation and mobility at the city of Detroit. And so when I think of access, I break it down into geographic access, physical access, information access, and financial access. And if we don't do that, then I feel like we're losing ourselves in buzzwords. Just like you don't get equity if you leave out people with disabilities. So we are working to achieve these meetings, get these meetings. We have one with Oakland County next week. I believe we have one with Macomb County next week or the week after. And the ask that I have today, and thank you to Zach and the commission for having me today, is that if you are not talking to your city officials or county officials or state officials or state representatives or senators, please do, and please lift up that we really need to make sure access is a priority. People with disabilities were left out from as a factor in the beginning. We were left out in immediate discussions regarding the vaccination rollout. We cannot be left out now. We will not succeed without working together. Please hear us and work with us to make this a success. So I hope that was a fair presentation. Probably talk more, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Maybe one last thing. I just want to be very clear that this effort, all these wins were a result of many, many people, not just a small group in Detroit, right? Like people have been doing this longer. Some of you have been doing this way longer than we have. But we hope that we helped, and we want to continue to help. And we thank you for letting us be in community with you, and in our work to try and make things better.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey, for all of your work. Thank you to Dessa and all of your small staff for all the work that you do. I speak for myself when I say that I'm very proud to be a part of this campaign. And, I hope that the commission as a whole is also proud to be a part of this campaign as well. At this point, I would like to encourage each commissioner too. There is a, hopefully, Jeffrey, you guys still have that individual online campaign as well, where people can, send letters as well and things like that. So I encourage each commissioner to get on board and really, push the campaign as well, because it's important. But at this time, I'd like to open it up to Jeffrey for some questions. I see that we have some commissioners raising their hands. Denise, though, if we could keep it limited due to our big agenda today, we have a lot to cover. So if we could limit it to, maybe 4 or 5 questions. And if you guys could, be succinct about your questions, that would be great. Thank you. I'm going to open it up to questions now. And Denise, if you could call on commissioners, that would be great.
Sure, Commissioner Hall.
Yeah, so I guess I'm glad to see the changes in the eligibility requirements and based on compared to what it was a few weeks ago. But the one issue that comes up is that while being eligible is great, it doesn't guarantee you're going to get a vaccine. And from what I've heard, even from people in existing eligibility groups, people will frequently drive long distances, go out of their county. And it seems like I've heard this a lot with people in Washtenaw County, because I feel like Washtenaw is allocated less per capita because they're seen as being having resources and being less vulnerable due to being higher income. And so people who can are driving because they have to just look all over and find a vaccine where it's available. However, people who can't drive are at a disadvantage here, because they either got to find someone to give them a ride, pay who knows how much for an Uber or a cab to get to distant vaccine, or wait around to get a vaccine locally. Have you looked into this and how that situation could be rectified?
Yes, Tim, thank you for your question. This goes back to the pivot and the ask. So I have 3 pages right now of access considerations. Things like sites must be equitably spaced throughout cities, counties, and state. Use existing health clinics, local pharmacies, or sports stadiums to bring vaccines to communities. Sites must be accessible by public transportation. Consider mobile clinics and door-to-door vaccinations. Make sure accessibility is incorporated into planning for walk-in, curbside, drive-through, and other types of vaccination clinics. So yes, well, I have pages of advice, pages of recommendation. You're 100% right. Some folks cannot leave their homes. We need a house call service. We need adequate medical personnel at CVS, at Walmart, at the TCF Center, at wherever we give these shots out. We need to make sure that staff are trained and disability conscious and disability welcoming and inviting. We need environments that are safe, sanitized, and secure. We need so many things, and yet we're coming to a place that I feel like we're almost behind, and people are expecting these recommendations in this moment when we should have been talking about this stuff the day the first vaccine went live. So we are playing catch up, and we really need the commission to raise each and every individual voice to your representatives to let them know that the disability community is diverse, or that we are disability communities. And if you're not thinking holistically about access, then you're not going to deliver equity. So that's what we aim to do, and we can't do it alone. We don't have an email campaign right now set up to do that. And certainly, as you pointed out, Washtenaw is unique. You know, we know that the Social Vulnerability Index includes disability, but to your point, it also includes rural versus urban. It also includes income. And so Washtenaw gave us feedback that, yes, we know disability is in the SVI, but we have shots going to places that are less populated right now. And we have shots going to places where there's transportation challenges when they need to go to other places within the county. So they were frustrated by that. Local leaders were frustrated by that. You know, it's interesting. People look at Detroit and they say, well, you know, you got more shots because you have operations, more operations, or you have more resources, or you have more people. But you know what? I think at the end of the day, I mean, the biggest barrier for me has always been political will. So, you know, if decision makers need help getting more shots, then we should raise our voices and get those shots. You know, if they need help organizing transportation, well, then we should raise our voices and say, you know, Uber, Lyft, shuttle company X, you know, we know that you're in our communities, but you don't have wheelchair accessible vehicles. Or, you know, we need you to do discounts, or we need you to provide ride sharing at no cost or service or fee, and have our decision makers, you know, incur that cost. So there's a lot of ideas out there. Transportation's a barrier, to be sure, but it's not the only barrier. You know, we need to make sure that the sites are ADA accessible. We need to make sure that many people all have equal access to these websites, or to a call center, or to a callback line. And not all of this is clear to us, and I'm sure it's not clear to everyone here. So we have a lot of questions to ask. We got to make those meetings, and we got to have people listen to us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeffrey.
Zach, Larry Keeler with a very relevant comment as soon as you're able to get me.
Yeah, Larry, thank you so much. I appreciate you speaking up. If you can be brief, we only have time for one more question before we move on. So, Larry.
Okay, I can be brief. It's not a question, it's a comment. The CMH, through CMH, Washtenaw CMH, you can sign up for the vaccine, and the number for that is 734-544-6700. And I did do this last week. They'll let you know when their appointment is, and they're giving them out at the Convocation Center at Eastern Michigan University, and also they're giving them out in Chelsea if you can't get there. So that's my comment.
Larry, this is Jeffrey.
And they will help you fill out the form for it. And again, the number is 734-544-6700.
Larry, this is Jeffrey. Can you also tell us if someone has to prove their disability and or what ages that applies to?
That is for 50 or older. And you do not have to prove your disability. I just had to fill out but they will help you fill out the form that you need to fill out and everything. So
Thank you.
that's just one of the resources. I'm sure there's better ones, but that's a pretty good one.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Larry. I appreciate you sharing that information. Finally, Jeffrey, if you could tell our viewers how they can get a hold of you or Detroit Disability Power, and how, if people are interested in joining the campaign, how they can do so.
Yeah,
Excuse me one moment, Zach. We have Commissioner Mozak who wants to have a question, who has a question.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Kathleen, go ahead. But then, folks, we're going to have to limit that to be the final question for Jeffrey this afternoon. We've got a lot to cover, okay? Go ahead.
You're muted,
Kathleen.
Commissioner Mozak.
We had the pleasure of hearing Rami Alvarez at the Council for Disability Concerns at the University of Michigan talk very much about this, and he shared with us an advocacy toolkit. Is that something that could be shared with us today or at some point in the future to help us understand and get a better grasp on things?
Yeah, I'll have to circle back with Rami. I guess I want to be clear that like the campaign for Come Through Counties officially ended last Friday. So the toolkit for advocacy was really all of our talking points, all of our data, all of the arguments we were asking people to make at public comments. But since we've essentially in speech from the state level achieved what we're looking for starting March 22nd, that's the positive. The negative is the implementation, that we can lose justice in implementation if we don't make this accessible. And certainly there are lines and lines will continue to grow, but there are also more shots now. What we need from people that are advocating, self-advocating as someone with disability or advocating on behalf of people with disabilities is for each and every one to reach out to the representatives and making them make sure that accessibility is priority number one. So I don't know if we're really launching a new campaign necessarily as much as we're pivoting to going directly to health directors and making sure they know what we know and that they know what you want them to know to be successful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And Jeffrey, for anyone that is watching and viewing this meeting, how can they get a hold of Detroit Disability Power? How can they get a hold of you? And how can they join the cause?
Sure, thanks. I'm sorry, I forgot that part. You can always email me at Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at DetroitDisabilityPower.org. You can email my colleague, as Kathleen mentioned, Romero, Ramiro, at DetroitDisabilityPower.org. He is our organizer. And you can always check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, and at our website, www.detroitdisabilitypower.org. We are here as a resource. We're here to learn. We're here to co-advocate, and we're 100% happy to come back anytime you wish. We sincerely appreciate your efforts in raising disability voices in our communities.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey Nolish, Detroit Disability Power. We really appreciate your time and all the best to you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. All right, folks. Moving forward, I'd like to welcome Lisa Brush. She is the CEO and founder of the Stewardship Network and the Snow Buddies president. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, thanks so much for having us. And I'm here with my colleague, Matt Nod, also. So good to see you, Kathleen. It's been a while. Alex, Tim, I promised to come back to the Transportation Commission. What I want to do is I want to take you through a little bit of the Snow Buddy. I'm gonna pull up a slide deck and take you through some of that. But I want to first say that my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am pleased to be presenting from the current and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe people, and really pleased to be here with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through this, and what I'm going to do, kind of, Zach, I hear your call for let's go quickly. So I'm going to run through it kind of quick, and then you all can ask questions. There's a lot of this that you all already know, and Denise, I'm assuming, there we go. Let me find my window. And I'm going to share. And there we go.
You should be good, yes.
Okay, great. So, Snowbuddy, let me get here. We completely believe, as you all know, that sidewalks are transportation corridors and that they should be maintained in their entirety year round. And so 7 years ago, we began this process because we knew that this transportation corridor, you know, as you see on the left, it's currently maintained like a bobsled course. And this is a transportation corridor that's maintained like a hopscotch for giants. You know, it's just impassable. So we know that it's a problem. So we set out to prove that we might be able to provide a solution that's better than the typical city response is sending out these postcards that say that private property owners are responsible for maintaining them. And then you'll get a warning, but that depends on your ability, your availability, your interest in maintaining these sidewalks. And so that's just, it's a crazy response to, you know, we would never split up our streets like that. So as you all know, this is a really big issue, right? You have the sidewalk, the snow pushed up on sidewalk ramps. Here you have somebody in a wheelchair in the street on Miller at night, right? And then here you're trying to navigate, we'll see a quote here, with a cane in the snow. So it's just a crazy situation. So the solution is Snowbuddy. So 7 years ago, we started a pilot where we are clearing the 12 miles of sidewalk in Water Hill in their entirety. So on the right, you see our little snow route map. We've got, it's all volunteer run. We have different drivers. You know, you start out on the green route, you finish that up, you go. And then we're taking people, you know that every bus rider is a pedestrian twice, right? Every bus rider uses the sidewalk twice when they get on and off the bus. And we're taking people to public places like their churches and the YMCA. And it's been absolutely transformational for the last 7 years. So we know it can be done. And so Snowbuddy also began to both study the problem and then also look for a citywide solution. So our dual purpose was to maintain these 12 miles, show its impact, and then figure out how to do this citywide. So we have an evaluation report that we issued in 2018, just kind of evaluating the problem. And I will make sure that I'll email that out to you all because I realize there have been some changeovers since we released that report. But that's just the study, like, is it an issue? Is there support for this and all of that kind of thing? And then we went on to really build the roadmap report. And as we began this, we said, it's really time to move from should we do this to how are we going to do this? It's absolutely time. Mobility is a fundamental right, and it's success, and it's key to the success of the A20 project. So you all received an electronic copy of this report, and if you would like a hard copy of the report, please let us know. We'd be happy to send you one. And in it, you know, one of the things, climate change is making precipitation patterns change. We also know, so this is just a little bit of the study part. We also know that it's absolutely, like I said, bus riders are pedestrians twice before they get on and off. 10% of people in the colder months where seniors or people with disability issues. And so it's will this increase bus ridership in the winter? Alex, thank you. We worked with the Center for Independent Living clients and families in 2019 to find out what you all thought about the impact of this. And so here's just one sample of the quote. It will provide safe travel and lessen the chance of a slip and fall. Also, it will help me in feeling and knowing where I am and which way to go by the use of my cane. And then another person says, it would allow free movement and the snow would not get up on my wheels and on my hands. So again, just thank you to the Center for Independent Living. You'll see those quotes peppered throughout. We think we've studied this enough. It's time to do it. And we have a roadmap. So we've been talking about this for more than a decade. There's consensus that walkability is really important. And some of the other things that I said, we now have political leadership for finding a citywide solution. And we'll also talk a little bit about some of the different models that we looked at. And so we know that there are reasonable steps for moving forward. So what we did was we explored governance and delivery. Like, how are we going to get this done? So we first looked at the public model. The city does it all. Like, let's just, let's just bang on the doors and say, city, do this, do this, do this. You got to do this. And in fact, we did some exploration with people, you know, in the early years, 7, 6, 5 years ago, about whether or not it really was feasible for the city to do it. And then the other scenario we looked at was nobody at scale. And then the third scenario was public-private nonprofit partnership. So in the public model, you know, we went out and visited Burlington, Vermont, where they have been clearing all of the sidewalks down to pavement since they've been pulling them with, I should grab that photo and put this here, since they've been pulling V-blades with horses. So they've been doing this forever. They had a mayor come in who wanted to cut costs, and they were only going to do it at 3 inches and only do one side of the sidewalk. That mayor was voted out. So I think once we see this, I mean, just as we have in Water Hill, once we see this, we are not going to want to go back, and we're going to realize how backwards it was. But anyway, we looked at that model that the city should do it. So nobody at scale would mean, you know, back in the days of recycling where there used to be neighborhood recycling drives and all that kind of thing. And so maybe we could take our model and take it to another neighborhood and try that. And really, we think the sweet spot is scenario C. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but where a local government hires private contractors to clear the sidewalks, and they would be bundled into a single authorization. It would provide a lot of those folks that do that work are landscapers in the summer. They get to keep their staff on in the winter, enabling better year-round employment for them. And then also that we think a private nonprofit could do the quality control. Then we looked at, so then everybody's going to say, how are you going to fund this? What are you going to do? So we looked at 5 different models. One was voluntary contribution, like Snowbody is. Another is a voluntary special assessment, a mandatory special assessment, a property tax millage, and sidewalk access and safety non-motorized utility. So again, like I said, it would be just like Snowbody. Could be different assessments, property tax millage, and sidewalk access and safety utility. So we think there is sustainable funding for this. We think with city contracts and private providers and a NGO customer service model, we think that we can have this citywide. Our recommendations are that the city thinks about our 4th and 5th funding model. We think that a millage or a non-motorized transportation utility are the way to go. We can go into more detail about that, but that's, you know, we can, if you have questions about that. We also then zone the neighborhoods and contract them out with individual contractors. We have done the preliminary mapping and zoning. I might also add that our team is made up of people with decades of experience, both inside and outside the city, of helping find city solutions. So as we've done this, we've really thought about kind of what are the things that we need. Local government would contract with the private contractors, you know, and play on the power of the contracting of bundled contracting of the city. The city currently does this for mowing of medians and other places, and so there's models within the city for how to do this. We would also build in, we can tell you lots of funny stories about equipment breakdowns with obstructions, but we would build into this kind of a mutual aid that if in your spot you don't have the equipment, you know, we would have another contractor come in. Snowbody or another NGO, it doesn't need to be Snowbody, so we're not advocating that it be us, but just somebody who really cares about winter sidewalk maintenance. So if you have a complaint, you're not shunted into the same system that says, you didn't pick up my compost card and there's a pothole and all these things. You're really into a place that says, hey, we care a lot about this. Here's the preliminary zoning that we have done of the city. Again, the pros here that I'm listing, just in case you can't see this, you know, the city's not going to have to enforce this. So we're going to save money on enforcement. Will it increase bus ridership? It'll improve the major corridor and neighborhood sidewalk maintenance. With having a more uniform application of salt, we should be able to reduce runoff to the stormwater system and reduce street tree mortality. We'll get competitive bidding, so it should be something that is affordable. Some property owners who currently pay for it will save a little money. And then we can also build into this program a Snow Angels program. So this will get your sidewalk cleared, but it won't get you from your house to your sidewalk. And so maybe we can build a Snow Angel program for people to help do that. So what we think are the next steps are sessions with stakeholders, the service providers, people like you all, the commissions. We've already talked to the public schools and the Downtown Development Authority and AATA, the bus riders. So we want to bring this forward to people, and then to whatever extent we're needed and can help, work with the city staff, city manager, mayor, city council to help develop these funding models and share what we've done. We've really spent a lot of time thoroughly researching this, further develop the governance and service models, and then let's do it. Let's implement a citywide winter sidewalk maintenance program with bare pavement as a standard. So the city just passed a resolution a couple weeks ago on this. And so we actually have movement on this. And so they're looking at, the resolution is to assess the feasibility, begin to develop cost estimates, make sure that that the municipal sidewalk network is maintained, that look at policies and really look at how to get rid of the piles of snow in the sidewalks and crossing ramps and islands, and then again, just pilot solutions along major transportation corridors, and then do the community engagement to determine the support. So this has been a really amazing transformational thing for me to be involved in. The Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation gave us a Bold Ideas grant several years ago, which enabled us to really dive into this work a little bit more. We've had conversations with many people. We've talked to you all before. We've talked to other commissions. We've talked to the Downtown Development Authority, as I said, the Center for Independent Living, the Sierra Club, the Huron River Watershed Council. We also have talked to communities in other places that have implemented this or doing this. We have a great all-volunteer snowboard. The residents of Water Hill certainly have made this possible by their contributions. And Trey Snow, and that is his name, did our GIS analysis. Thanks, Trey. And Matt Nod, once we got to the point where we were pulling all this together into a report, Matt's experience in helping us build this report has just been fabulous. So with that, I will stop sharing and would love to have any questions or comments that you have.
Yeah, folks, that was wonderful, Lisa. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing for our community. And folks, I'd like to open it up to questions, but limit it, to 3 or 4. So Denise, if you see individuals with their hand up, please feel free to call on them.
Yes, Commissioner Solomon.
Lisa, thanks for that great presentation. As a resident of Ann Arbor, I think this could be one of the single greatest things the city undertakes. Just to compare and contrast it with snow removal on the streets, my anecdotal observation is that on certain streets that can take days and days and days. So just want to make sure that your model is a little more robust than what apparently exists to clear the city streets. And I also wanted to actually ask Councilwoman Nelson whether she thought there was an appetite for this on the city council, because I personally believe we should advocate for this as strongly as possible as a disability issue.
Well, I guess since you asked me, I have been in conversation with Tom Crawford about, well, I should say 2 years ago, I tried to start conversation with our then administrator about a Snow Angel program, and I didn't get very far. So I'm relieved to hear that now there is actually leadership that apparently didn't exist before. I don't actually know how to answer your question. I'm sorry. That there are conversations that are going to happen about this. I mean, we are very interested in resolving this problem. I mean, we have been. So.
Mm-hmm. And then Matthew, the other thing that I'll say is, yes, it's absolutely critical. What kind of we've made the zones, because you're absolutely right. Like they need to be cleared in a timely way. And so we have Snowbuddy as the model for how we can do it. And that's also why we say we want Snowbuddy or a similar other NGO that's committed to non-motorized transportation to do the customer service, because if those issues are there, we want to hear them and figure out what's going on, and can work with our contractor partners and say, hey, what's going on? Looks like it's not cleared yet. Let's get out there.
Yeah, I think if there's some way I can contribute to this, I'd like to do that, because again, it's a serious deterrent for folks with disabilities.
Right.
It's a serious problem for, continuing to imagine being a resident of Ann Arbor without this occurring sometime very soon.
Yeah, and Kinsey, as I don't know if you've been here all winter yet, but as you might imagine, you'll experience that as well. Great. So Matthew, I'll keep that in mind too. Thanks.
Awesome, guys. We'll limit it to one final question for Lisa on Snow Buddies. Is there one final question? All right. Well, Lisa, thank you.
I see, excuse me, I see Commissioner Gossage hand up.
Oh, great. Okay. Alex, go ahead.
I'll be real quick. Thanks for being here today, Lisa. I really appreciate you giving us some of your time to talk about the program. I was hoping you could just talk a couple more minutes, or maybe just briefly, about the Snow Angel aspect of things, because as you've known in the past, that's one of the things that I really like about your program, is that it's an opportunity to create community connections and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, that's one of the things that people also talk about is, like the Snow Buddy program is actually really super cool, and talk about building community in that neighborhood. I mean, we have people who volunteer their garages for the tractors, and we have the volunteer drivers, and so you get to know people. It really does build community. So a lot of people have kind of asked, like, hey, what are you going to lose that cool aspect? You don't want to do that. So one of the things that I could imagine is that, so right now Snow Buddy is an all volunteer group, but it is made up of very professional people who do this work. And what I would imagine is that the Snow Buddy, or whatever other nonprofit runs this, so I really am not advocating that it be Snow Buddy, but that it would end up being a little more robust. I could imagine that there would, I don't know what it is, there would be a staff person who would do that, and you'd begin to create this Snow Angel program. I mean, we currently had, and it would be in those zones, and we would think about neighborhood cohesion in that. And I think, and then the other thing that it would allow is, you would also be surprised how many people love to shovel their snow. And so this would create an outlet for them. And so we could say, and we would be able to canvass the neighborhoods and find out who needs help, and do that kind of thing. It also could be the kind of thing, we have a little bit of a Snow Angel program where we have people volunteer on those corners to go back if we don't go back soon enough and shovel those sidewalk ramps that the city snowplows had put back on there. But I think it could be a super cool program.
Great, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, can I just add real quick?
Sure.
We've got Ann Arbor's already got a strong volunteer program that the city runs, but another model is the Watershed Council has an Adopt the Storm Drain program. So we have these models where we've created these good systems to make it easy for people to volunteer and kind of own those spots. So this is again where, as Lisa was saying, we already contract with people to manage medians and things like that. So it's not like we're developing this from scratch. And for those that don't know me, I spent 17 years at the city of Ann Arbor, so know a little bit about how the city works.
Awesome, Matthew. Thank you for joining us, definitely. And thank you again for the service that you and Lisa do. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing service, and serves the community in a great way.
Honored to do it.
And lastly, Lisa or Matthew, Lisa, if you could just list your contact information for Snow Buddies, or how, if anyone is interested in getting involved with you, or volunteering or helping or knowing more about that, if you can just list your information for the viewers, that would be great.
That's great. So probably the easiest thing is to email info@snowbuddy.org. So it's info@snowbuddy.org. We have a website which has this report as well as the evaluation report, some other fun things. We are also on Facebook, so you can follow us on Facebook and message us there, and we'll respond to that. But again, just info@snowbuddy.org.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again, Lisa and Matthew, for your time. We do appreciate it, and feel free to reach out to the commission again if you need anything.
Absolutely, and thank you all as well. Totally
Thanks so
appreciate
much
your
for
work.
having us.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. With that, we're going to move on to our next presentation. We have Katie Monkevitz of the Washtenaw Library for the Blind and Physically Disabled. Welcome, Katie.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Good to be here as usual. I just have a few reminders and updates about the library. All Ann Arbor District Library locations are open for contactless pickup by appointment. You can use our high-speed internet at Malletts Creek, Westgate, Traverwood, and Pittsfield outside the buildings, 24 hours a day, no login or library card required. If you're missing browsing our shelves, we can do it for you. Tell us about what you're looking for and we'll pull a selection of available titles in those formats and topics. You can fill out the form at aadl.org/shelf service. We have printing services available. You can fill out the form to have something printed at aadl.org/printing. You can submit something for posting on our branch bulletin boards at bulletinboards@aadl.org. You can book a Zoom meeting for up to 2 hours and 300 attendees by emailing bookazoom@aadl.org. And if you have an essential task online or you need help filling out any of the online forms for library service, but you don't have a computer or a way to access the internet, we may be able to help you. Call us at 734-327-4200 to get started. We have some programs coming up. I hope that y'all keep on checking out aadl.tv for board meetings, story times, crafts, book recommendations, trivia, and more. Upcoming, we have an album discussion, What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, Thursday, March 18th, 6 to 7 p.m. You can join AADL staff and other community members for a discussion of What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. Joining us for this discussion is Will Jones III, a Black creative who has spent most of his life in predominantly white spaces. He is also a descendant of William Tucker, recognized as the first African child born on American soil. As a musician himself, Will finds special inspiration in What's Going On as a timeless classic. Gaye's messages remain powerful and moving still today. We also have our Bright Nights Community Forum, Working Through COVID-19, Stress, Well-Being, and Support. That's Tuesday, March 23rd from 7 to 8:30 p.m. The COVID-19 pandemic has created an enormous disruption, uncertainty, and stress in our everyday lives. Attendees will hear from Kelsey Stratton, PhD, from the Michigan Medicine Office of Workplace Resilience, and Michelle B. Reba, MD, MS, from Michigan Workplace Mental Health Solutions at the University of Michigan Depression Center on how to adapt to new mental health challenges in the workplace and at home. Specifically, this session will discuss strategies and resources for coping with stress, building resilience, and caring for our well-being in the midst of this ongoing stressor. It will also address how to recognize and effectively respond to mental health concerns and distress in an employee, coworker, loved one, or in oneself. How to make a business plan will be on Wednesday, March 24th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. A business plan is a risk management tool, a tool to make you think, a tool to help you avoid mistakes, and a tool that defines the elements essential to success and how they relate to each other. Join the experts from Ann Arbor SCORE and learn why every business needs a plan. And finally, just a little bit about some materials. As usual, WLBPD patrons can order digital cartridges and receive help and services from the library by calling 734-327-4224. Leave a message. We'll call you back, or you can email WLBPD@aadl.org. It's always a great time to sign up for the Braille and audio reading download service. Give us a call. We'll help you sign up. We can help you with the application. There's over 10,000 titles available on BARD, including these two that have just recently been added, Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. This is the prequel to the best-selling The Hate You Give. As the son of a former gang legend, Maverick makes ends meet by dealing drugs for the King Lords. Suddenly, Mav is taking care of an unexpected baby with another on the way and wants a different life. Actually just finished it today. It's really good if y'all are interested. And then we also have The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. In this modern retelling of Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, Jane is newly arrived in Birmingham, Alabama, and working as a dog walker in a fancy gated community. She feels like an outsider until she meets handsome widower Eddie Rochester. That's all I have for you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you for all of the work that you do at the Ann Arbor Washtenaw Library for the blind and physically disabled. We appreciate it.
Thanks. You guys take care.
Yep. All right. Next, we have Alex Gossage, the Executive Director of the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living.
Thanks, Zach. I thought I would just be real brief today and say that if you are a person with a disability living in Washtenaw, Livingston, or Monroe counties, and you are in need of resources, have questions, looking for services, supports, recreational and social opportunities, the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living might be a great resource for you. We can be reached at 734-971-0277, and you can email us as well as request to be put on our weekly mailing list at info@aacil.org. But I thought since we have a pretty full agenda earlier and some other things to talk about today, I would just be brief. So that's all I've got for today.
Yes, thank you very much, Alex. I appreciate it. And thank you for all the work that you do with the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living. All right. Next, I don't think we have any public comment today. So I'm going to go and move under old business. We have the city personnel report with Denise.
Oh, yes. Just hold on. I might have a public comment here. Hold on.
Oh, there is a public comment. Okay.
Good afternoon.
You are unmuted. Hi, this is Michelle Hughes, and I'm calling to talk about a thing you have on your agenda, which is the electric scooters on the AAATA. I wrote to some people about this issue earlier where me and my girlfriend were trying to get on on a bus, and one of the drivers told us that we couldn't get on the bus because she couldn't bring her fold-up electric scooter. It's one of those ones like you can rent around town, except for, this is one that she owns, and it folds up, unlike the ones downtown. But it seems to me like it's something that, like, these electric scooters are things that absolutely should be allowed on the buses, because there's a lot of people who have very slight mobility problems, not big enough that they need to be in a wheelchair. They need not big enough mobility problems that they can get a diagnosis or get their insurance to pay for like a full, like electric scooter or electric wheelchair. And yet if you make these people walk the distances to the bus stops, then it's painful or dangerous. They might fall. There's lots of people with these very slight disabilities, and we should allow all types of mobility. And it seems like allowing these electric scooters on the bus would be a great way to make sure that everyone who needs to get to the bus can. I know that, like, my neighborhood, the bus that usually serves it is not running right now because of the pandemic. The Route 33 is shut down, and so we have to walk, pretty far distances to get to the bus. And I don't think we can expect every person to go those distances. Also, if you're someone who's living without a car, not everything that you try to go to is super near a bus stop. You might have to find that just today we had to walk like a mile and a half to get to a doctor's appointment. And it would have been a lot easier if there had been, if we could have brought an electric scooter. So I hope that you'll join me in asking the AAATA to change its rule about electric scooters. I don't really know why they have that rule, but I can speculate. The driver just told us it's because of the battery. And, I think that they're talking about the lithium-ion batteries that are in the electric scooters that are different from the lead-acid batteries that you find in the mobility scooters that the doctor will prescribe to you and stuff like that. And we've heard stories on the news about sometimes a lithium battery catches on fire. The hoverboards were big in the news when a couple of their scooters caught on fire. So maybe that's why they're disallowing them. But if we hear about this stuff on the news because it's rare, we don't hear about people being trapped in their homes because of very slight mobility problems because it's not rare. So they're not going to talk about it on the news. But I think we should prepare for the common case rather than the rare case, and that the bus should allow people on using their electric scooters. They don't ask riders to coat themselves in garlic oil to prevent a ghost attack. So they also shouldn't try to prevent these other rare events. So I'm hoping that when you get to that agenda item, you'll see fit to inform the AAATA that these electric scooters are an access issue, and that they should change their rules and allow people to access the bus, even if they have to bring an electric scooter on there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And could you state your name one more time?
I have her name.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, yeah, I would definitely like to address that once we get it on the agenda here. And thank you, Denise, for that public comment.
Okay, no problem.
All right, so moving forward to old business, we have the city personnel report. Denise?
Yes. Ann Arbor is welcoming this month Sanya Firk, Information Technology at Data Analysis, Chantel Jackson, Fire Services Office Manager, Lisa Kubler, 15 District Court Judicial Coordinator, Andrew Nimi, Engineering Transportation Technician, and also this month retiring is Jennifer Satori, Senior Police Officer, Carl Schuler, Engineering, Civil Engineering Specialist, and Daniel Smith, Fleet Services Facility Maintenance Technician.
All right. Thank
it.
you so much, Denise. I appreciate that. All right. Moving forward, we're going to go to the chair report. I will be very, very brief. So basically, as of right now, we've been, I've been working with Detroit Disability Power for their campaign, as you heard. I encourage all of you guys to check out their website, and I encourage all commissioners to, support a lot of the work that Detroit Disability Power is doing because it is worthwhile. And then also, it is later here on the agenda, but I wanted to just mention that I was approached by some city park and rec staff to work on the Ann Arbor Park and Rec ADA compliance study that they're doing. They're doing some surveys and scoring of different architectural firms that are going to be potentially making all the parks more inclusive and more accessible for those with disabilities. They've asked me to be a part of the Park and Recreation ADA review committee, and so I've been working on that. But that is all I have today for the chair report. So next, I'd like to move to digital accessibility, and I'd like to basically just say briefly that I would like us all to continue to think about some ideas on just digital accessibility going forward, because at some point, we will be able to meet again in person, but I also want to make sure that that if for some reason a commissioner cannot make it to City Hall or to the council chambers, that it is put in place that we can have those commissioners join us remotely if possible. And so that was a thought that I had on digital accessibility. I hope we can continue to think about this going forward, but due to time, I'm just going to move forward to the Community Engagement Committee because we are short on time and going a little bit over. So we have the Community Engagement Committee report with Rachel Hawkins.
Okay, so I will also be quick. So the update right now is Ann Arbor Inclusive has a new show coming up this Friday, March 19th at 4:30 on CTN channel 16, and the guest is the Center for Independent Living. So to be able to talk more about their work, they're still figuring out their guests for April and May, but please reach out to us if you have an idea or interested.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Rachel, for your work with that, and also to Tom Hoatland and Linda Evans and everyone involved with Ann Arbor Inclusive, doing a great job. Next, we have the Partners in Access Committee report with Alex.
I guess I'll lower my hand. I was actually going to mention that Tom Hoatland is in the audience right now, so I didn't know if you guys
I'm so sorry. I could not see him. I could not
today.
Yeah, I could not see him on my screen. Tom, do you want to say a few words, please?
I think he, oh, there he is. Yep.
Hi, guys. I don't think I'm on video, but I think you can hear me, right?
Yes, we can.
Good. Well, the person who reported just before on Ann Arbor Inclusive sort of stole my thunder. That was basically what I was going to update on. The topic of this month's show that will premiere on Friday is inclusion. So the Ann Arbor CIL had a campaign, an inclusion campaign that included a 2-minute, 3-minute video of some staff members talking about what inclusion means to them, and based on their, either they have a disability or based on their experience with the consumers that they work with. And we had a really meaningful conversation. Usually I'm not as involved in the conversation because I'm interviewing folks. But this time it was my colleagues and friends, and we all share the same bond of having a disability, in our case, visible disabilities. And so we had I think a really meaningful conversation on inclusion and exclusion for that matter. So I just saw the rough cut of it yesterday, working with Tim, and it's a good show. I'm happy with it.
Awesome. And thank you, Tom, for lending your wonderful charisma and your amazing skills to Ann Arbor Inclusive. You've done a phenomenal job as host and co-producer of the show, and I think I can speak, at least for myself, that we wish you the best and continued success.
Thanks a lot, Zach.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Tom.
Yep.
All right. Moving forward, I'd like to go to the Partners in Access Committee report with Alex.
And I will try to be brief as well. What Larry and I did meet just the other week. Part of what we focused on was some further discussion related to the various bills that have gone through around snow shoveling, sidewalks, and things like that. Obviously, we got a presentation today regarding Snow Buddy, but we also found out that there was some legislation, or there was a resolution or a bill passed to have the city look into that some more. The other thing that has happened in the last month or so is Councilmember Nelson and I both had the opportunity to meet with Tom Crawford and talk some more about audible pedestrian signals, how to make those kinds of changes, and really what it comes down to in a lot of ways are individual requests for those sorts of things. So making an individual request for an audible pedestrian signal at a particular crossing. And so what Larry and I had talked about is, as a commission, figuring out ways that we are able to share information with the community on a broader level. And I think Rachel also separately emailed me recently about doing a survey. So I know her group wants to look into that as well. And I think surveying the community would be really important, but also figuring out ways that we can provide information and support to the community, I think would be really important in terms of how do you make that sort of request? What happens during the process? And I don't know what that is, and it's probably a broader conversation that we all need to have at some point, maybe at the next meeting. But that's where we are at the moment. And as always, we would be happy to have anybody join us. Larry and I are more than happy to fill 30 minutes to an hour ourselves, but I would love to have more folks join in and chat with us on all the various things that we can be doing in the community.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alex, and of course, Larry as well for your work on the PIA. And of course, Alex, you and I will be meeting offline to discuss some things with the Partners in Access Committee as well. So thank you both. Next, I'd like to move on to recruiting activity with Larry Keeler.
Hello. Still nothing done. We did get our new recruiter. We did get our new commissioner. And I still haven't met them. But there they are.
Well, we'll have to work on that.
Yeah, I'm sure that when things get nicer and I'm out in the public, I can also talk with people, because that's where I'm really big, talking with people on the bus or in places. And hey, yeah, we got the commission. You might want to tune in and take a look. And if you want to be part of us, that's cool. So that's it.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you so much for your help with that. We do appreciate it. Next, we have the Transportation Commission update with Mr. Tim Hall.
Yes, the Transportation Commission met last month. We discussed some of the snow removal stuff a lot. And yeah, that was probably the main topic we spent the most time on. We have a meeting tonight. And I know one thing we're going to bring up is the construction, the resurfacing they're going to work on this year. And also AAATA is going to be in to discuss the service restoration plan, which is already on their website. I've already got a few comments and questions about it, but yeah, it sounds like a lot of routes, some of the routes are going back to what they were pre-COVID, some of them are being changed, but yeah, just I guess if you're interested, you can check out that meeting. But yeah, all right, thanks.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate your work with the Transportation Commission and all you're doing. Do appreciate that. Next, we have the report for the U of M Council for Disability Concerns. Kathleen.
Okay. Sorry that took so long. I had a hard time finding unmute. I'll keep this short. So we did, the Council for Disability Concerns did hear Rami Alvarez from the Detroit Disability Power, and it was awesome to hear from him, just like today's presentation. We discussed U of M ergonomics as a pathway to access and accommodations. A lot of times people don't realize the resources that they have there, students, faculty, and staff, that sometimes an accommodation is more ergonomically inclined versus access inclined. So we had a presentation by Cindy Zelensky. We also had a presentation by Alex Stern, Jamie Savell, and Remy Yurgo, who spoke on a pilot project that's starting up in LS&A for access navigators. And then finally, we do have an opening. This might be of interest to the public. They're posting a student administrative assistant position to the Council for Disability Concerns. If anyone is interested and would like more information, they can contact Stephanie Rosen at ssrosen, R-O-S-E-N, at umich.edu for more information, or check the University of Michigan job posting website. And that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathleen, and thank you for all the work that you do, not only on this commission, but on the U of M Council for Disability Concerns. And my best to them, and go blue. All right, next.
Quick
Do we have
question.
go ahead, Matthew, sorry.
Kathleen, can you repeat again the LSNA initiative? I know you mentioned Alex Stern. Could you just repeat that one more time so I can try and find some more information about that?
Yes, I have to go back to my email here. So what they're going to do is they spoke on a pilot project to address faculty and staff accommodations and access needs in LSNA that includes 2 staff positions whose working titles will be access navigators, and they will respond to faculty and staff needing accommodations in LSNA. And then they're also looking at a resource bank, including funds for access services like CART, interpretations, and et cetera, and potential equipment investments. They're processing data from a survey of staff and faculty needs. They had over 900 responses, which was very overwhelming to them. So it's going to take a little while for that report to get collated. And they hope to scale this program through a collaborative work across campus. They recognize that there's a need for cultural change in addition to solving logistical and funding issues. And so, yes, did that help you?
Yes, I work in LSNA, and so my curiosity is there any kind of web resources, or is this just in the talking stages? Because it's something I'd like to learn a lot more about.
There is not.
Having participated in that survey.
Yeah, okay, so right now, because they haven't taken care of the survey and everything sort of is in process. But if you know Alex Stern, is that who you mentioned, or James Seville, you can contact them directly by their email. If you wish, I can email that to you offline if you need it, but do you need it?
I don't. I have a meeting set up with Alex Stern, so.
Okay, well, good luck.
Thank you, Kathleen.
All right. Thank you, Matthew. Any other quick questions for Kathleen at this time? All right. Moving on, are there any announcements before we move on to new business? All right. No announcements. So under new business, as you guys heard from the public comment, there was, a situation with the electric scooters and the policy of AAATA. And in addressing that, I was wondering if, the Tim Hall and the Transportation Commission would be able to look into this more, maybe contacting the woman, that called in today to do a public comment to sort of find out again, if there are, some resources that could help them, particularly in, transit, in terms of them getting to medical appointments. It sounded as if, they really struggled, having to get to different doctor's offices and medical appointments when, that's very paramount. So I think, in my opinion, I think the Transportation Commission would be the best place to hand this off to in terms of, contacting that woman and just seeing what other resources the Transportation Commission could offer them. Would you be open to that, Tim?
Yeah, I could bring that up.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. All right, next, under new business, we have the Ann Arbor Parks and Recreation ADA study. As I mentioned in the chair report, I was approached by Hillary of the Parks and Rec with the city to participate in this study. What we did is we just did a review of all the architectural firms that were in the running to be in this study. So we had to review all of their plans. Right now, it's not quite done yet. We reviewed all the proposals in terms of their experience with ADA and their additions to parks and different projects. Now we're reviewing sort of the cost measure and, which are affordable, but also still have the efficient, ADA experience. So I will keep you guys updated on that, but that is ongoing. Next, the the Downtown Development Authority projects and coordination with the Commission on Disability Issues. So basically, there's been some interest in us also partnering with some other entities that are doing downtown development so that we can also, as a commission, possibly have them come to us to be able to review some downtown development projects that may happen. And I think going forward, this would be very beneficial for us, you guys, because we would then be able to firsthand be able to review some of these new projects going forward, and be able to see, just how inclusive and accessible that they are. And from my experience, there have been, mixed reviews in terms of new developments in the city and whether they are complying with ADA or not. So I think with the commission being a great voice for the city that we are, being inclusive and knowing access and things like that, I think having a presence when the Downtown Development Authority has some projects, having them present those to us, I think would be a benefit. So that's all I have on that. Next, we have our next meeting, and our next meeting in April, correct me if I'm wrong, Denise, but there still hasn't been any necessarily any development. I haven't heard anything from the city about whether they are starting in-person meetings back at this time. Councilwoman Nelson, is City Council still meeting remotely as well? Has anybody from the city heard anything?
Well, as of yesterday, I received information about how to proceed with Zoom meetings for April, but there's been no notification so far about in-person meetings at City Hall.
Okay.
Commissioner Hall?
Yeah, so I know that there is a law that has provisions for virtual meetings under all circumstances. That actually expires March 31st. There is provisions that they can do it afterwards, which is what I think some of the things we referred to about saying your town, and that comes from that it requires some kind of declaration of a state of emergency. And I'm guessing there may be some effort to do that because there also is a bill in the state Senate that would extend that to June 30th. So I'm guessing either that will go through the state Senate or there will be a declaration that allows us to keep meeting, unless, I haven't heard anything suggesting we're going to go back to in person on April 1st, though if neither of those two things happen, we would have to.
Right. Understood. Okay. Well, then as of right now, folks, we will plan to do our April meeting on Zoom. And, we'll go from there. But, I just wanted to say finally that I'm so grateful for all of you and your commitment. I really enjoy all of you. You guys are a great group, and, we are doing great work. So thank you, everyone. And, if you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Denise. And, I'm open to you and all of you. And thank you all. That is all for the meeting, and we'll see you next month. And thank you to CTN and the City of Ann Arbor.
Okay.
So
Councilmember.
I know